Hi, Mom. What are you doing today?
Providence Place, owned by the Sisters of Providence, an ideal rental setting for retirees to continue their active, independent lifestyles. We have bright 1 and 2 bedroom apartments, a magnificent chapel with daily mass, restaurant-style dining, and wellness and entertainment programs. Call for a tour, 413-534-9700.
Mom, call me when you're not so busy.
Coming up on this edition of Reel to Reel.
The former St. Joseph High School in Pittsfield is being used as an emergency homeless shelter. I'm Carolee McGrath. I'll have the story coming up.
I'm Kathy Harrington. She started her new job as the COVID virus was sweeping the country. I'll introduce you to the new executive director of the Gray House, now leading a team of volunteers who are working to meet the growing needs of the North End.
And I will sit down with Catherine Buckley Bronner to learn more about how the Catholic Charities Agency has continued to serve those in need, especially during this pandemic. These stories are coming your way next on Reel to Reel. Hello and welcome to Reel to Reel. Even during a pandemic, without losing a beat, the Gray House in Springfield's North End continues the mission set by the Sisters of St. Joseph more than 35 years ago to help the neighbors struggling with food insecurity and poverty. Recently, the challenge for this small agency, funded in part by the annual Catholic Appeal, was to replace a successful leader while meeting an increasing demand for services. Kathy Harrington introduces us now to the new executive director of the Gray House.
Since a group of Sisters of St. Joseph came up with the idea to turn a rundown 17-room Victorian house in Springfield's North End into a center dedicated to serving the needy, the Gray House has been alive with the voices and laughter of children and adults learning to speak English. But in the wake of the deadly COVID-19 crisis, the constant comings and goings of the house have slowed. Instead of children gathering for kids' club or families lining up at the marketplace, instead of homework help, language and literacy classes, the past 8 months have been about transitions. That includes the unexpected change at the top, a new executive director.
I actually became acquainted with the Gray House at my previous job at Western New England. I was the assistant director of student volunteerism, and I brought a group of students here for one of the Friday night distributions.
Kristen McClintock knew there was something very special about the Gray House in 2018, within hours of volunteering there. And when she learned the search was on for a new executive director, she says her heart leapt.
I was like, this is my dream job. This is the job that I was born to do. And so,
a New Hampshire native, McClintock says her husband's educational path took them to Oregon and Texas before landing in Springfield with a PhD to teach at Western New England University. They have 2 sons, ages 11 and 14.
But all of our family and friends are back in New England, so this is where we wanted to settle and this is where we'll stay. I remember when I got the call from the board president saying that they were offering me the position, it was one of the happiest days of my life.
This may be her dream job, but her challenges grow weekly to meet the increasing needs of the North End neighborhood.
So I started in May, so we were kind of in that transition. They had done a really great job right after the pandemic happened in March with transitioning our market to a contactless curbside distribution method.
Now heading into winter, McClintock is seeking funds to continue the curbside distribution.
It's been a really great addition to our program. We're able to serve more people per hour, and it's more dignified than having people outside wrapped around the house in the cold weather. That's one of our biggest concerns, is as the cold weather hits, a lot of our clients don't have the appropriate clothing to keep themselves safe.
The North End of Springfield is one of the poorest neighborhoods in Massachusetts, says McClintock. With a poverty level of more than 45%, the residents are suffering even more in the pandemic because so many work in low-paying minimum wage jobs, most impacted by the economic fallout.
So what we're seeing is every single week, new faces come through, people who have never had to rely on food assistance before, coming for the first time because they aren't able to make ends meet and they don't have food to put on the table for their families.
In just 6 months, the Gray House served more families than in all of 2019.
We just have to continually evolve and adapt and be nimble and quick and respond and not delay, because the need is there And if we aren't there to help these people, then, they're going to suffer, and that's not what we want.
Long the host of an after-school homework help program, the Gray House was successful in moving the Kids Club online.
All the students were given a Chromebook by the schools, so they do have access to technology, which has been wonderful.
Keeping up with their English education is important to the adult clients of the Gray House. They know it's essential to find work, become integrated into the community, and to be advocates for their children. But since many adults do not have access to technology, modifications were made.
We're really set up so that as the colder months come, when students come, we check their temperatures, we make sure they aren't exhibiting any signs of illness, and then they're able to enter the building. And again, our classrooms are set up for social distancing. We have physical barriers so that everyone can remain safe.
A grant from the Annual Catholic Appeal is only part of the funding necessary for the operation of the Gray House. The yearly spaghetti dinner is another 10% of its budget, but it too was impacted by COVID.
We transitioned to a no-show spaghetti supper, and although we fell a little bit short of our goal, we really were very impressed. The community, really responded generously.
McClintock also led the team to a safe distribution of their winter coat giveaway, and they're preparing for curbside turkey pickup in time for Thanksgiving.
I want to be able to adapt our programming to meet all of these challenges that we're facing so that we can continue to serve our community. So that's my ultimate goal, is that I want the Gray House to be a beacon of hope and peace and encouragement to the community.
McClintock says she comes to work excited every single day, and she never ever leaves feeling that she failed to accomplish something good. For Reel to Reel, I'm Kathy Harrington.
This year, the Gray House received a $20,000 grant from the Annual Catholic Appeal. Given the growing increase in customers for the marketplace at Gray House, the funds are very much needed. And joining me now to talk more about the Annual Catholic Appeal grants is Kathy Harrington, manager of the appeal. Hi, Kathy. Thanks for being with us today.
Hi, Sharon. Thank you for having me.
So, Kathy, we are nearing the end of the 2020 Annual Catholic Appeal this year. How has it gone?
Well, we're just a little bit ahead of where we were at this point last year. As of right now, we're at $2,423,039. That's 80% of our $3 million goal. And we have to thank the more than 17,000 donors who have contributed.
So like most everyone, the ministries and agencies supported by the Annual Catholic Appeal are facing challenges this year. What's happening with the grants?
Well, the allocation committee met late last month. They reviewed the grant proposals, made their recommendations, sent them along to Bishop McManus, who approved them. And earlier this week, we sent out the notification letters.
Can people still donate?
Yes, they can. In fact, earlier this month, we sent out another letter to people who we expect to donate, who usually get their donations in by the end of the year. And it included a great brochure explaining how contributions to the appeal are being used by the agencies and ministries to get us through COVID. So you can still donate online, you can mail in a contribution, or you could call my office and I'll help you do that.
All right, Kathy Harrington, thanks again for the update. And if you have not already done so, you can make a donation to the 2020 Annual Catholic Appeal. We have a secure link for you at diospringfield.org, and we have a story on this year's community grants on our news website, iobserve.org. And still to come on Reel to Reel, we will hear from Catherine Buckley Bronner, Executive Director of Catholic Charities of the Diocese of Springfield, about how this agency is reaching out to the most vulnerable in Western Massachusetts. And a former Catholic high school in Pittsfield has opened its doors once again to the homeless. These stories are still ahead on Reel to Reel.
The Chalice of Salvation, your weekly spiritual connection. I'm Passionist Brother Terrence Galen, your Chalice host, inviting you to take time out of your busy day and join us Sunday morning. We welcome Father Valentine Norwood and celebrate the solemnity of Christ the King. The Chalice of Salvation, your spiritual connection, Sunday morning at 10 on 22 News, and coming up next on Albany's Fox 23.
Hi, Mom. What are you doing today?
Providence Place, owned by the Sisters of Providence, an ideal rental setting for retirees to continue their active, independent lifestyles. We have bright 1 and 2 bedroom apartments, a magnificent chapel with daily mass, restaurant-style dining, and wellness and entertainment programs. Call for a tour, 413-534-9700.
Mom, call me when you're not so busy.
St. Mary's Westfield, the school so many love. A family atmosphere permeates all we do. We offer a rigorous curriculum and high expectations, and we build character in our students through spiritual growth, academic success, sports, service, and other activities. Small class sizes, a dedicated faculty, and high-caliber academics provide a customized education. St. Mary's Westfield, where character counts. Call 413-568-2388.
After 20 years of restoration work, the unveiling of the Pontifical Sanctuary of the Holy Stairs in Rome was supposed to be a grand celebratory moment slated for last spring in time for Holy Week and Easter. The newly restored Scala Sancta, or Holy Stairs, were said to be walked by Jesus just before Pontius Pilate sentenced him to death. The staircase is believed to have been moved from Pilate's palace in Jerusalem to Rome by Emperor Constantine's mother, St. Helena, after Christianity became the official religion of the Roman Empire in the 4th century. But the COVID-19 pandemic has given a new significance to this holy site. We learn more now from Catholic News Service.
So here we are at the end of 20 years work restoring the sanctuary of the Holy Stairs. Many people participated, and it was all programmed for a great celebration in March 2020. COVID made us postpone that. Hopefully it will be next April 2021, but we don't know. But what does this mean really? I think this COVID pandemic has forced us all to look at life differently, faith differently. And for me personally, it forced me to look at this sanctuary in a new way.
In questo tempo che ha visto l'umanità provata, i credenti hanno visto in questo luogo una profonda dimensione di comunione e di unione con la passione di Cristo. Cioè tutta questa sofferenza che stiamo vivendo è diventato un momento significativo che deve essere evangelizzato, e quindi questo luogo diventa per le persone un luogo dove possono venire a trovare senso ad alcune realtà come la sofferenza, la malattia e anche la morte che non hanno, e che il messaggio cristiano della morte e della resurrezione del Signore dà con luce, dà con un vero senso di vita, ed è stato quindi un momento importante.
The Holy Stairs has obviously a specific or a special significance in this time, right? There's a lot of suffering in the world today, and even if it's not physical suffering, which in a great part it is, loneliness, isolation, really the Passion of Christ touches so many lives today. This whole sanctuary is a testimony to really entering into the Passion of Christ, right? The frescoes, as you go up the stairs, they're all about Christ's betrayal. They're about really the loneliness of Christ as he goes to his passion alone. And the idea as pilgrims, we try to unite, we try to go up the stairs that Christ himself went up.
Especially with the Old Testament disasters that we're looking at as we descend the stairs. Universal flood, Cain and Abel, expulsion from paradise, the story of the copper snake and Moses. Linked to what we're thinking now about COVID, How is faith really helping us with these issues?
I think that the flood describes better the situation of the COVID because the people were living a good lifestyle, they were happy, but they didn't have a God in their life. So they weren't able to understand the difficulty that comes from the nature. The flood is a natural phenomenon, and from the God itself. So good or bad things that goes beyond their normal boundaries, today we can say immanent boundaries, they weren't able to understand. If you see the image, they tried to grasp to the relics of what was the past, and they couldn't see the future. But the answer of God was that at the end of the flood, I give you a new future.
It's also interesting to note that the basilica housing the stairs is under the care of the Passionist Fathers and Brothers, and that community is celebrating the 300th anniversary of its founding this year. Congratulations to them and our own Passionist brother Terrence Scanlon, longtime host of the Chalice of Salvation. Well, as we are continuing to witness over the course of most of 2020, everything has in some way been affected by the pandemic. One population that has been especially hard hit has been the homeless. I sat down with Catholic Charities Executive Director Catherine Buckley Bronner recently to see how her office is serving the most vulnerable in our area. Joining me now is Catherine Buckley Bronner, the Executive Director of Catholic Charities for the Diocese of Springfield, and she is here to talk about how the COVID-19 pandemic has affected the population of the Springfield area and beyond. Welcome, Catherine.
Well, thank you very much, Sharon. I think, first of all, I want to acknowledge that the pandemic has affected just really hundreds and thousands of people across Western Massachusetts. Whether you're a parent trying to cope with your children being at home, the remote learning, whether you're somebody who has lost their job, whether you're a small business owner who is really trying to figure out how they're going to stay alive, keep their doors open, and really struggling with that. Maybe you're a landlord who has tenants who can't pay their rent anymore. Maybe you're people that have worked on the front lines, essential workers. So the effect that this has had has been total and real, no matter who you are and where you are.
Mm-hmm. Now, so Catholic Charities must have seen an increase, you must have seen an increase in what you are doing, how you are serving the population around here.
Absolutely. So all of what I said before is true, and there's a portion of the population that is probably classified as the most vulnerable, and the ones who are affected most immediately when there's any kind of disaster or upheaval, and that is those who are experiencing poverty, and those are primarily our clients. And so yes, it has been very difficult, not only to work around the issues that have arisen, but with all of the COVID and pandemic protocols. That makes it a little bit more difficult. But in essence, what we have is we do have people that have lost their jobs. A lot of them really had a difficult time navigating the unemployment system and the incentive system. So we spent, at the beginning, a lot of time with our clients just helping them actually try to access the benefits that might be able to come to them because they had lost their jobs in the middle of this pandemic.
In mid-September, the City of Springfield awarded nearly $2.3 million to Catholic Charities Agency to increase services for the homeless population. The money comes from the Federal CARES Act, funds which allow the city to increase the allocation of emergency solutions grants to respond to the coronavirus pandemic. Springfield Mayor Dominic Sarno announced the grant September 18th.
Homelessness is a very, very complicated issue. I mean, you go from loss of a job, loss of your family or loved one, drug addiction, mental health. It encompasses a lot of issues here that police are not there to handle. We need these other agencies to get out on the streets, assist our police department, and help out with the mental health situations, help out with the drug addictions, and get these individuals the help that they need.
Buckley Bronner said this month Catholic Charities will begin work with Mercy Medical Center's Healthcare for the Homeless program, partnering in street outreach, social work, placement into hotels for emergency shelter, support and referrals for behavioral health, housing research, and rental assistance.
What we have been doing is providing shelter, providing rapid rehousing, prevention, in other words, preventing people from going homeless. We've also helped them with navigating to find food and making sure that their benefits that they may have lost a while ago, they can recapture those benefits now so that they can actually acquire food. And we also are helping people with things like the utilities payment. Now we're getting into the season where people are concerned about fuel for heating, so we will be assisting people with that as well. So sort of the panoply of things that people really have found that they're short on money for.
Yeah.
That would be food, that would be rent, that would be paying their bills and making those choices again.
How about the refugee resettlement work that Catholic Charities does? How has that been affected?
It has been affected in similar ways. So we, I think it was right around March 18th, the international organization that normally sends refugees to the United States through the Department of State actually put a moratorium on actually bringing refugees to the United States. So that, except under special occasions or for special circumstances. We did receive a few families during that time because of those special circumstances.
Well, despite all of the stress, you're doing a great job and you're helping a lot of people, and I'm sure that you must get a lot of good feedback from people who really appreciate it.
We do, and I think that that's really wonderful. I want to give good feedback to the city and to the state for really partnering well. I want to give also good feedback on Mercy Medical and the new partnership that we will have with them with the Healthcare for the Homeless. They will be doing more concerted outreach and mental health work with our clients that are being sheltered in the motels, something that is desperately needed. It's created some interesting and very wonderful new partnerships. Also, I think it's engendering a new way of thinking about how we actually care for those who are chronically homeless and finding more permanent solutions so that we don't go through episodes like this every time there is another disaster. So I think that there are some very positive things that can come out of what has been certainly not a very positive time for many people.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much, Catherine, for your insight and for all the work that you do, and best of luck to you, and let's hope that we can all get through this very soon.
And we will.
Okay.
Thank you, Sharon.
Mm-hmm. And if you would like more information on the work that Catholic Charities does, you can visit the link that we have on iobserve.org. And this weekend, the Catholic Campaign for Human Development is taking place in parishes across the diocese. This is the annual collection that helps fund programs that address the root cause of poverty in our community, and you can make a donation in your parish. Finally, the former St. Joseph High School in Pittsfield is again being made available this winter for use as an emergency homeless shelter. As Carolee McGrath reports, the use of the former Catholic high school will not only ensure safety during the pandemic, but continues the mission of the Catholic Church to help all of those who are vulnerable.
As the temperature begins to drop in New England, communities are grappling with providing shelter for the homeless with the restrictions and concern of COVID-19, and Pittsfield is no exception. But with the help of the Diocese of Springfield, the city has space to safely shelter 50 people per night in the former St. Joseph's High School.
The classrooms are very large, so we make sure that there's a 6 to 8 foot distance between each cot. People are required to wear masks inside. So we have a number of classrooms that we can spread people out in. So that's, each classroom can accommodate 6 to 8 people.
Jay Sacchetti is the Senior Vice President of ServiceNet, which runs the emergency shelter for Pittsfield. He says they opened their doors for the winter on November 1st. He also says the city's other shelter, Barton's Crossing, doesn't have the room needed given the pandemic.
Barton's Crossing, our year-round emergency shelter that's existed here in the county for a number of years, can't accommodate our usual 40 people this winter because of social distancing requirements.
The high school was also used as an emergency shelter at the beginning of the pandemic, and the diocese is leasing the building for just $1. Mayor Linda Tyre says she first reached out to the diocese last spring.
Without hesitation, the diocese said yes. We'll work out those other details. First and foremost, let's get the building ready to house the homeless population. So from that standpoint, as a mayor, someone who is in the middle of managing a crisis and needing everyone to sort of work with me and with my COVID-19 task force, when the diocese said yes without hesitation, we all just felt a huge sense of relief.
St. Joseph's High School, which graduated its last class in 2017, had a long history in Pittsfield. Monsignor Michael Shershanovich is the pastor of St. Joseph's Parish, which is located next door.
I say my prayers on the street at night, and I just see more and more street people that I've never seen before. You recognize new faces, and so I know that there's been an influx of people, men and women.
Monsignor Mike says the use of the high school as a shelter not only honors the legacy of the school, but speaks to the mission of the church.
I think it speaks very highly to the mission of the church in light of our Lord's commission in this week's gospel. When I was hungry, you gave me to eat. When I was sick, you visited me. We have so many homeless people in Pittsfield now, and here we're feeding them and we're taking care of their needs. They can shower. They have a place of shelter.
The shelter offers overnight housing from 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. ServiceNet also helps people with finding permanent housing, employment, and counseling. Reporting for Reel to Reel, I'm Carolee McGrath.
Thanks, Carolee. And for this week, that's Reel to Reel. Thank you so much for watching. A reminder that all week long you can keep up to date on the latest news on the Catholic Church, both here in the Diocese of Springfield and around the world, by heading over to our news and information site, iobserve.org. You can also connect there to our Catholic Communications YouTube channel, where you will find our on-demand archive of stories and episodes of Reel to Reel. It's all found through a link at iobserve.org. And you can also like us on Facebook at Catholic Communications. And as we approach Thanksgiving, we here at Catholic Communications are thankful to all who have so generously supported the annual Catholic Appeal, funds from which help keep this weekly program on the air. If you haven't made your annual gift, you can do so right now by logging onto diospringfield.org. And there you will find a link to a secure online donation site. That's diospringfield.org. And we all thank you in advance. I will see you right back here next week at this same time for another edition of Reel to Reel, your window on the world around you. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Reel to Reel is a production of the Catholic Communications Corporation, funded in part by the annual Catholic Appeal, and the support of you, our faithful viewers.